Ready? All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Polk County Board of Commissioners for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. All commissioners are present. Announcements are on the agendas. Extra copies are in the back of the room. First item up is for comments for items not on the agenda. This is community opportunity. All right, hearing none, I'm going to go forward with the approval of the agenda.
Also move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass unanimously. Approval of the minutes from November 6th.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass unanimously. Approval of the consent calendar.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass unanimously. Length of service awards, Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today we have one employee that we would like to recognize, and thankfully he has shown up today. So we would like to recognize Sergio Gutierrez for 20 years of service to Polk County. So come on down. Get to go here, we shake hands, we do the whole thing.
Oh, okay, starting over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, man.
And give this to you as well.
I have a backpack.
Well, there's stuff in it too for you. You sent us info on what you might like, so.
No problem, right?
What?
Did you read that? Oh.
No alcohol. You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you for service. 20 to go.
Thanks, Sergio.
Thank you. Hey, I know you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everything, man. Yes, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want to give a speech at all? You're not required to.
No, I feel, Mr. Greg, Hanson over here, I feel that, I don't know what else to say, but I'm here.
You're good.
Yeah, thank you. It's been nice, and I'm still hoping to be here. Just that, I just want to share what when I was hired, said, here, you married to the county. They told me. And I'm like, oh, man. And they told me like, oh, when am I gonna get divorced? So I didn't expect that. Well, it has to be one time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
All right. Next up is a presentation from Alerica on a Bethel Heights broadband proposal. Sam and Kimberly, welcome. Good job on your event last week. I will tell you that I did not stay through lunch, but I was actually hopeful to learn a lot more, but I didn't get all of what I thought we might get there. But thank you for putting it on.
Yeah, thank you for attending, and thank you for having us this morning. Glad to be here at your weekly meeting. Hopefully today we can give you a little bit more insight into what we hope to do with this broadband proposal and how we can put that money to work. Before Kimberly walks through the slides, I just want to say the partnerships that we've had together so far to date have been incredible. Alerica has been very privileged and thankful to be able to be a participant in that. Through our efforts together, the projects we've worked on have connected over 1,800 residents in Polk County. And we did that at a cost of less than $1,000 per resident. So I think we put the tax dollars to work, and we maximize that benefit to deliver broadband to the rural residents of Polk County. And we hope to do that today as well with a new project. So Kimberly.
Sure. Great, so I'll walk you through some of our slides. So we'll go through the scope of the project, just the general timeline, the project area, and what service plans we'll be offering. The scope is that we'll provide service to 50% of the unserved and underserved residents within the Bethel area of Polk County. So you can see that area here highlighted on the map, that northeast corner of Polk County. will serve the customers using Tirana G1 platform and provide speeds up to 600 down and 100 up. And we're asking for funds of $200,000 to complete this project, in addition to a match from Alerica.
And this will be using our CBRS spectrum, so this will be licensed fixed wireless.
We aim to complete this project within 1 year of receiving funds, and that means that the network would be active and will be able to hook up customers within that 1 year timeframe. So you can see that timeline outlined here on the graph, starting with the network design and engineering, permitting and securing the site locations, which we've already vetted a little bit, material procurement, and then construction. Customer installations, we project that we'll be able to start about 6 months in with the completion of the first site. And then marketing and outreach will conduct throughout the project period, letting customers know that we're coming and when, of course, they're available to connect. You can see here on the map on the right, the project area and the projected address coverages. These represent unserved and underserved locations. Upon completion of the project, 223 addresses of the 443 unserved and underserved addresses would be able to be connected. In the whole of Polk County, the project will actually offer coverage to 390 unserved and underserved addresses. And just as a side note too, Alerica is working on a project with Yamhill County, which is just north of Polk County. So we anticipate that that could provide some additional coverage in the future.
So I have a question on this slide. I see a lot of numbers up there and what serviceables, break this down. So not everybody that's gonna follow this on YouTube is gonna be able to see all this. So could you give us an idea of how many addresses you believe we can serve with this project?
So as far as unserved and underserved, we're aiming to cover 50% of the addresses within this area.
So you're saying there's 443 potential,
Yes,
that likely 50% of them would be
Yes.
served.
exactly.
So, and why is that 50%?
Based on this area is particularly challenging just because of the geography, the terrain, all of the hills and trees. It makes it very challenging to cover. So these two tower sites we've picked, hopefully, we'll fine tune them as the project goes on, but we'll promise to cover 50%. And the two tower sites that we've chosen to date cover the most amount of addresses. We would need to do additional sites in order to provide additional coverage. And that's just based on how the terrain is.
So translate that 390 unserved, underserved.
Mhm.
What is that saying?
Yeah, so within the scope of the project, so actually can I go back?
Yeah, you can scroll back.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you can see the Bethel area that we've kind of outlined in that square in the northeast corner of the county. We're basically saying that within that square, we'll cover 50% of the unserved and underserved addresses, but we'll actually be able to provide additional coverage outside of that square in the amount of 390. So the coverage map will stretch a little bit beyond.
So you're gonna pick up some Perrydale area folks, for example.
Yes, that we're outside the scope of the initial ask. When we originally worked the proposal, we had identified a quadrant in the northeast corner of Polk County. But fixed wireless being the platform that it is, often has reach beyond the target area. So we believe that the project will actually be able to be extended to those 390 unserved or underserved addresses in the greater Polk County area, in addition to the target area. In addition to that, it will actually provide optional service to an additional 3,000 addresses as part of the project, but many of those 3,000 addresses are already served. So it will simply be just another option that they can choose from as among the list of providers already offering services in those locations.
And or stronger signals.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that.
Sometimes competition can inspire efficiencies.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we do believe in competition, and we know that by providing more folks more choice, even if they're already served, it will put some downward pressure on pricing and also the quality of the services being delivered.
Thank you.
As far as the service plans, they'll follow our standard service plans. You can see a snapshot here that's directly from our website. So residential service plans will range from $59.99 up to $99.99. And then we'll also offer business plans from $119.99 to $149.99, and that's per month. We also recently were accepted as an Oregon Lifeline provider. So we've just started that program, and any residents who are eligible for Oregon Lifeline within this area can certainly apply those discounts as well to any of our residential plans. And those discounts provide up to $19.50 per month in assistance for high-speed internet.
Give us a quick definition of Oregon Lifeline.
Yeah, Oregon Lifeline is essentially taking the place of the Affordable Care Program, which was actually stopped being funded earlier this year. So Oregon has taken it upon the state themselves to provide additional funding that will take the place of ACP, which a lot of people relied on. So Oregon Lifeline is run by the Public Utilities Commission, and we've just qualified for them. So there's a list of providers who are acceptable under Oregon Lifeline, and residents have to apply to be eligible for the discounts. And based on kind of where they're located, you get additional benefits for being part of tribal land. They can receive up to $19.50 per month from both the federal government and Oregon.
And the program is funded by the Universal Service Fund, both the federal USF fund and the state USF.
Well, I just want to tell you, well, thank you, because I'm right in the middle of that zone you just picked.
Okay.
So, and your service has been great the last couple of years. I know we had some issues at first. And some of the challenges were the trees were growing and losing sight. So I'm excited to get some new towers, and but I think you find that this is gonna be really well received in that region. Everybody I know always talks about, they have decent, but then in storms and stuff, they have zero. And then just the consistency it hasn't been there. But since my last episode a couple years ago, I've had no breaks in service. So I just want to say thank you, and we're excited to see this new step and a little faster service. So yeah, it'll help a lot.
That's great to hear.
Well, then, one question. Do you see potential for perhaps increasing that 50% penetration rate, particularly for unserved households in the future? Future expansion possibilities?
Yes, absolutely. So the topography of the region has that ridge line kind of going right down the middle of it. And so the placement of additional broadcast sites along that ridge line would expand that. Alerica is always looking for continuing investment, both with public partnerships as well as with our own dollars to maximize our coverage and service within an area where we believe there are customers to be served.
I just want to note for the record that your per resident rate or cost under $1,000 is very good compared to recent BDP program, which showed about 9,000 per household. You know, different technology, different costs, but I think just the efficiency of these dollars, and you all started well before I got here. And you really got a head start on what has been just a huge deficit nationwide in Polk County. So really, really thankful for your partnership and appreciate it. Thank you.
So in this new system, will you still be able to use the repeater process that you've done? I know a lot of the residents above West Salem have had zero, but because they couldn't see a tower, but you've pinged from the tower to a house, to a house, to a house to where they could get it. Is that something still capable through this? Because we have a lot of deep draws off of those hills that they will never see a tower.
So with our relay program, so we will do a singular relay off of a host. So if a customer subscribes to our service and they're willing to be a host for their neighbor, let's say, then we will be willing to do one hop in, so one relay. We don't go beyond that as policy. However, that customer that is subscribed off of that host customer will not be able to get the next generation plans, they'll have to purchase a legacy plan because we cannot guarantee the throughput and speeds that we're able to get over the Toronto system. That system, not to get too into the weeds, but the costs of that system is prohibitive to deploy at a small scale. And so we will be deploying our legacy system, which can deliver speeds of up to 65 megs down and 15 megs up. And that would be the maximum speed those relay customers would be able to receive.
Having zero to having something is fantastic. I can verify that. So, yeah, thank you.
Got it? On slides?
Yeah, and it's just our contact information, and if there are any other questions, we'd be happy to answer.
So Dean, can you come forward?
Sure.
Dean Anderson, for the record, project coordinator. So we've talked about, the hills and valleys and the challenges that we have. Can you give for the audience some perspective on how challenging these areas are to cover and what the likelihood is? I'm sure there is some in the future of another direct fiber application being offered or being able to cover some of these areas that may remain underserved.
So the biggest issue I have with the fiber extending out into some of these areas is that, and in fact, we're running it with it in the BEAD program applications. They're realizing that in order to provide funding statewide to every single household, it's not going to cut it. They're just not going to reach them all. And so initially we had an area in the BEAD program that was identified in Eastern Oregon that says, hey, other things can happen here, such as fixed wireless. Now they're realizing that in the second round of BEAD, fiber, while it can get everywhere, provided somebody's willing to put it in and you're willing to spend $10,000 or $20,000 per customer, can make it. It's just not going to be economically feasible with the money and the match that's provided in what's coming up in the next several years. In addition, the timing will be very, very difficult. So combining this type of technology, the Toronto technology in the last project we did, which was Northwest Dallas, another topography challenged area up around Pioneer Loop, the Toronto technology covers a much better than with leaves, and so they'll be able to reach far more than we could before. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is one of our secondary priority areas. It also is a priority area in that I'm not sure BEAD's going to fund it just because of how all of the school district boundaries and all the ins and outs of BEAD. So this becomes a higher priority for us, which was one of the reasons we had encouraged Alerica to go after the BDP grant, which that didn't happen. But I still think this is a very important high priority area that may not be covered. And adding additional towers in that area. If y'all remember when we did the countywide program several years ago, a tower cost then compared to a tower cost now for so much better service is just way less. So I think we've got an opportunity to spread in that area and combine it with other technologies that are happening. I think it's going to work out pretty well. I'm excited about this project.
Thank you. And so again, for the record, I want to make certain that folks watching, listening, understand that this is the Board of Commissioners trying to make more inroads for more service, more coverage in light of, or in lieu of, I should say, the federal dollars that we've all heard so much about not actually making it to the ground in some of these underserved areas, or in some cases unserved areas. And this one has several, a lot of people unserved that I've talked to that are trying to figure out how to make things work on a hotspot and still have a lot of challenges. And so this is a place where we could identify economic development dollars that we have available and potential partnerships here to continue to reach out and get coverage that we just don't want to wait for the federal government to be able to have the money. And the reality of it is what Dean is discussing here with BDP and BEAD grant dollars, I wouldn't even begin to tell you all what those acronyms are. He could say it, but our chances of success in Polk County of getting those dollars on the ground in some of these difficult to serve areas that have never had fiber, likely won't have fiber for a long, long time. This is our effort to use the best technology that we have available to us, which I'm very proud to be working with you on. Again, I think Tirana has been, it's a form of technology, has been a game changer for Polk County and our work in wireless broadband.
I think the exciting part with it too is that it continues to evolve. When this first started and they said this next generation, the concern of fixed wireless was that 100 down and up was going to be the limit. And we're just a few years after, and I think you guys said 600 down. That's amazes me. So I think the fixed wireless technology is really improving very, very quickly. So I think it's going to keep pace with the ever increasing requirements we all have on the internet.
Thank you.
Just for example, 5 years ago, I had to come to my office for a Zoom meeting. I could listen, but I couldn't comment or I couldn't see the video. And today it's no problem at all. I can be doing that when my wife is downloading a TV show on the same thing. So it's amazing what we've done in 5 years, and your efforts with the county has really paid off. I know several areas.
5
Yeah, the
years
county.
ago, 25.3, which at that time was the federal limit, was unheard of. That was magical. And I
Yeah.
have 25.3 at my house now within 5 years, and I'm thinking, oh, it's too slow. So our perceptions are changing, but it's also because of the work we've continued to do, which is pretty cool.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other, well, before you go, any other questions? Just want to make sure.
I may ask for a meeting offline, coffee, just to chat with you a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know.
And so we have a proposal, right?
The proposal, we're working on the work plan. And so our goal is to have that work plan finalized shortly and to bring it back to you folks.
Okay, so no decision needed today. Just presentation and thumbs up to keep moving forward. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, we go from happy times to not so happy times. Mr. Hanson, first update.
Nothing to set the mood like.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, in your packet, you have a summary of the upcoming PERS rates for Polk County for July 1, 2025. As you're aware, PERS has employer rates reevaluated every 2 years. So the new rates in your packet in the one single page that you have will be our rates for fiscal year 25-26 and 26-27. PERS rates did not go up as much as it has in the past. Our average is going to be about 1.8%. Every percent at the county level is about $280,000 of additional cost to the county. So at the rate we're at, you're probably going to be a little under 500,000 additional costs starting July 1 of 2025. And that's an annual cost. It's not a per month cost. If you remember, not this fiscal year, but the prior fiscal year, we set up a PERS reserve fund. The departments will not feel the effects of this increase starting July 1 of 2025. We will transfer monies out of that PERS reserve fund into the appropriate departments. So they will basically, they'll have to pay the new rate, but they will be backfilled on part of it. So our rates will be somewhat constant for the next 2 years. We charge departments 3% internally and carry that in a separate fund. And starting 2025, we will transfer part of those backs appropriately to the funds based on FTE and those kind of things and salaries. So that's part one of the PERS report. You can see if you have questions on the one page you have, there are PERS rates for every county and every city and every special district. I have 42 pages of this. I only gave you the one that had Polk County. The page that we're on is individual accounts. Each county is in this list is assessed on their own experience, not a group. A majority of counties are in a group under the state, so theirs look a little different, but not that much. You can see, for example, Lane County, their PERS rates are, much less than ours. I mean, significantly less, 20 to 25% less. However, they sold bonds on the side to reduce their unfunded actuarial liability, which we'll talk about in just a second. So their rates are small on the PERS side, but they have to pay a bond payment to cover the bonds that they use to buy down their UAL. You can also see Douglas County, which has a much higher rate than us. They're almost at 45%. You add the 6% for the employee and they're at 50% roughly for their employees. So if you have a $80,000 job, they're going to pay $40,000 of PERS in addition to that $80,000 job for that employee. And that's based on some of the decisions they made to contract out services, reduce their payroll. Payroll is a function of your formula to determine your rates. You reduce your payroll. It takes more for the existing people to pay your past sins. So of the PERS system, not the people that work there. So that's what you're looking at. For rate increases for the upcoming biennium in 2025. The other report is about a 40-page report, which talks about the UAL. And that, I'm sad to say that the UAL for the county went up about $3.7 million. So our current UAL is, and again, this is an unfunded actuarial liability. It is based on a bunch of actuarial assumptions, projections of future payroll, all those kind of things. So our total UAL for the county is $43,150,000. For us to pay that off, it would take 1.5 years of our payroll just to eliminate that UAL. Most of your UAL is a function of stock market returns. PERS invests lots of their money. So if you look at the one page that has a little history, in 2018, our UAL was $35,500,000. It went up to 39 million in 2020. It went down to 31 million in 2021. That was a function of very good stock market returns. And as a result, your UAL made us look like we made $8 million. We don't make anything on PERS. We just pay the piper what is owed. My guess is for the upcoming year, and there's always a 1-year lag in PERS reports, our 43 million will drop probably because of stock market returns and that, assuming that in the next 7 weeks or 6 weeks, nothing dramatic happens to the stock market, you'll probably be down in the 35 million range. So you'll make another 8 million. But if returns aren't adequate to cover the debt that is there, your UAL is going to go up. So, those are things that we have no control over. Right now, you're probably paying about 11% of our employer rate. About 11% of that is paying for past sins of PERS and how they didn't react to certain deficiencies in their system quick enough. As a result, they've created tier 1 then tier two, and now your current, which is officer. So those are the things that you have. I mean, these 42 pages are a lot of numbers, a lot of, I think the actuaries get paid by the page, so it helps, but you know, you're not going to change this. I disagree with some of the things that PERS does. They try to keep the employer rates down without attacking the UAL problem. And they kind of kick the can down the road. It used to be by 2030, we would have the UAL cleaned up and all the past sins eliminated. You're probably now looking at 2036 to 2038. And as they kick the can further down the road, until all us tier ones and tier two people not receive benefits anymore, you're going to have these issues and pay this premium. Officer really has no UAL associated with it. So the new program that PERS is under, and a majority of our employees are under now, have no UAL ramifications. That doesn't mean it's impossible to. I mean, if you had really bad stock market returns for years, they'd be in trouble too. But as it is now, it basically takes care of itself. It's a defined benefits program a lot more than tier one and tier two were. So you don't really have to worry in the future if and when that future gets here and how long they kick the can down the road. So if you have any questions, be happy to answer. It's difficult, but it is the biggest cost that the county has. Health insurance and PERS, those two benefits by far the two largest benefit costs to the county on top of salary. So
notwithstanding market trend that make obvious changes to the UAL as you've described, as you study this, do you see the trajectory for UAL growth, notwithstanding the market trend, leveling off, and at some point in time, it will start coming down?
Oh, it will.
Based on the numbers of recipients, yes?
Yep.
So
Correct.
do you still see this rocket ship climbing right now?
You're going to climb for the next decade at least.
Ah, dang it. I've been hearing that for 14 years.
Well, they keep kicking the can down the road. I mean, we're going to go up 1.7% roughly on average for our employer rate. They could have made it 4%, taken the extra 2.3%, bought down the UALs. You got to remember, some people, Wayne County and others, have bonded their debt, and that would just put them in a negative position on rates and those kind of things. So it's hard for them to kind of do that, but for a majority of us, it would make sense to charge us just a flat 4% and start buying it down. Just like back in the day, it would have been smart for them to give on the returns that the fixed return only 8%, not the 28% that I received in my earlier years. And then when it was negative, they would have had a pot of money to pay for the bad years. Good years, they gave it away. Bad years, put them in debt further and further. So by kicking the can down the road, you know, it's easier. And a lot of cities, counties, special districts don't have the money to pay for the 4% or whatever the number they chose. So they're trying to balance things.
It'd be nice to have more options locally to manage that risk rather than just being, told what to pay.
I believe they feel that the option is go out and get bonds.
Yeah.
And pay down your UAL, and then they're made whole. But we still have to pay on the bond.
So we're looking at about a $500,000 cost for the next budget.
For the next 2 years, the additional cost to the county will be about 500,000. So
With our PERS fund and other, we can absorb that, but we're not.
you will be able to absorb that and still have some money left over for the next increase in 2027.
Assuming the
There
market
will
doesn't.
be an increase. Unless you have miraculous stock increases over the next 3 years.
We've been on a trend for a while. It's like, when is it gonna? Yeah, well, I won't get
It
into.
will adjust. So.
Well, correct.
Yep, so that's what you have in PERS. It's one that everyone here, Morgan may still be around when it levels off.
Just so our employees know, or ex-employees, that UAL does not affect benefits, only contributions.
Correct. The only time it has basically affected contributions is on your IAP, which is a function of OPSERP. There's a county pays 6% for the employee, but not all of that 6% now goes into their account.
Right.
If you're a tier 1, you get less. If you're a tier 2, you get a little more, but still less. And then OPSERP has a minor adjustment to their 6% that goes into their individual account.
And the addition of the deputy DAs into the police PERS, that's not dinging us too much, is it?
It'll ding you, but they'll be put into police and fire. That isn't a retro. It moves forward. So when they calculate their retirement, they'll look at general service, which they were prior to the bill.
Gotcha.
Putting them in and then moving forward. So it'll benefit those new hires and new to the system for OPSERP. Past employees will see very little adjustment to their increase in PERS benefits. So.
Gee, thanks. That wasn't that much fun. Okay, important. Yeah.
I could have given it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna get this every year. But the rates will be every 2 years, but the UAL report comes out every year and it's a 10-month lag before you get that report, so. Yep. PERS is never a happy subject.
Unless you're tier 1, tier 2.
Still not a happy subject,
For our budget.
not a happy subject for the employer ever,
Right.
so.
All right, may I move on?
You may.
Okay. Fair Board request, operating levy, and your name is on this one.
It is, and Tina can be my witness. Attended the Fair Board meeting yesterday, at which time the Fair Board voted unanimously to push a request forward to the Board of County Commissioners to consider a local option tax, which is the more legal term, but everyone understands it as an operating levy, to push a operating levy forward request of the board to put it on the May 2025 ballot. They also requested it to be a 5-year levy and in the amount of 15 cents per thousand. If you are in agreement with that, at least moving forward, you can direct staff to put together all the proper documentation. They're required to have a number of public hearings involving this subject. You're going to end up passing 2 resolutions, I think. One to get it in the public hearing format, and then one if you finally approve the final product. And then we fill out paperwork for the clerk's office. They receive that. There's an appeal period. And then once that appeal period is over, we fill out another form for the clerk to put it on the ballot. And all that has to be done before middle of March of 2025. There is a timetable in your packet showing what the drop dead dates are for the levy and authorizing the levy. The first of those dates is November and December of 24 for internal staff recommendations, where on target for that, then you'll have to have a public hearing and a second public hearing, and then deliver the measure to the clerk, and then measure filed with the clerk. And then that would be for a May 13th, 2025 election. Then there's other things that once it is a measure that is approved by the board, if you so choose, then there's a campaign and all those kind of things, but that's outside the staff recommendations, and that's more of a internal or elected officials, fair board member issue to address forming a pact and doing those things. Included in your packet is also, what would 15 cents generate? If you passed a operating levy in May of 2025, you are probably going to generate about a little over $1.2 million in levy receipts. You would use a portion of that money for normal operations of the fair. And then the additional monies would be used to make improvements to the fair. There is a 4-year list of improvements that are included in your packet, which include electrical upgrades to the facility, parking and interior walkway improvements, exterior main building improvements, interior main building improvements, relocating the maintenance shed, and relocating the main office into a new office area outside the main building, upgrades to the HVAC in the main building, developing an amphitheater / stage in the northwest corner of the fairgrounds property, upgrades to building B and C, and continuation of HVAC. All of these improvements are for things that are facilities that will remain intact if the fairgrounds moves forward with a master plan development. In the scheme of the master plan, all of these buildings, building B and C and the main building would remain intact. So making improvements to that would be not a loss in investment. Improving the interior walkways and asphalt out in the parking lot, and that would not be a loss. So trying to address things that won't prevent or require you to 5, 7, 10 years down the road, bulldoze and move forward. So that was the thought process that the Fair Board had, and I believe that's a very good idea to promote in this operating levy. So it's just not an operating levy, it's an operating / improvement levy, but it's referred to as a local option tax, and local option taxes are limited to 5 years, and they are not an addition to the permanent rate or anything like that. They end in 5 years unless they are reauthorized at some point. So that's what you're looking at as the request of the Fair Board, is to place a local option tax on the ballot for May 13th of 2025, and then have a fixed rate of 15 cents, which means you don't have to levy the full amount, but that's the limit of what you can levy. And that would be a 5-year levy, and then you would need to direct staff to put together the proper paperwork and set up the public hearings and those kind of things to get this on the ballot if that's what the board chooses to do.
So at 15 cents, what would be the annual tax liability on the average assessed home in Polk County?
$45 on a $300,000 home.
Yeah, and the average home, the last time I checked, and I have not checked currently, the assessed value is much different than the real market value. I get to talk assessor now.
Turns out she's here.
She can talk it too, but I think when we looked at it, it was around 280 to 300,000 when we did the public safety levy. I can go refresh that and get a better number, but Commissioner Pope is right. If you have an assessed value of 300,000 on your house, you're going to pay an additional 45 cents or $45 in property taxes annually. And obviously that assessed value goes up 3%. So it'll be $45.45 and those kind of things. So it's not a lot of money, much less than a lot of other ballot measures that are going to be on the May ballot is my guess. But it's still in addition to your property taxes.
I'd like to move to authorize a local option tax as proposed by the Fair Board and direct staff to schedule the public hearings and put together the paperwork.
Yeah, I'd second that definitely.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the recommendation as presented. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes
You
unanimously.
didn't even have to speak.
Now the process begins.
Yes.
Hearings, et cetera.
And just for the record, the vote of the Fair Board was unanimous to move this forward to the Board of Commissioners. I have a copy of proposed minutes. They aren't approved minutes. So if you want to see that, but yeah.
Okay. Next up is reclass of an employee. Hawkins.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, again, and members of the board. This time I'm here to request a reclassification of an employee. Specifically, this is for Brenda Dornbush in our finance department. Brenda is currently an accounting technician 1. We're requesting that she be reclassified to an accounting technician 2 position. I don't know that I could say enough about Brenda. She has the skills to take on the duties that she's already taken on. She's doing a great job for us, and I know that Caitlin would back me in those words. So we're just trying to catch up to what we need to do for her. So we're requesting that this be effective November 1st. We're looking at a fiscal impact if it were for a full 12-month period during this fiscal year of approximately $5,000, which includes the PERS contributions that Mr. Hansen talked to us about earlier today.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay, do we have a need for an executive session?
No, sir.
Okay, anything else to come before this board? All right, hearing none, we're adjourned.